What's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I am your host, Joey McGee, aka Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me is once again my good friend Cody Bratch.
Let me talk to you, Godzilla, yeah!
And if you read the description, you'll know this was supposed to come out on Godzilla Day, but the thing is, me and Cody got lives and we decided to go out and touch some grass for a change. Quite a rarity for us, but... and with the Godzilla, but we got back to the podcast thing as established last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago.
No, it was last week.
Okay. And what we are doing is gonna be covering a lot of that, but also something Garo related has come in. So I changed the name from Godzilla fans still eating well to Tokusatsu fans still eating well because we fucking are.
That's right. We've been getting so much new content. It's been like, I think some people are having trouble keeping up with how much good stuff there is. Those weak-willed fools are the ones that are all like, oh, I'm starting to get burnt out. Oh, we're going mainstream. Oh, it's oversaturated. It's just like, bitch, shut the fuck up.
I agree. Like, I'm loving all this stuff that's coming. And especially with, which we'll get to this at on the final aspect of the video, because when we discuss the final episode, when we discuss the episodes of Monarch, we're going to be talking about that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But especially with how good this has been, this is peak Monsterverse content. I will fucking say that shit. Tokupunk Production said, breaking news, Jim Sterling is pregnant.
I knew it!
Oh, God. But, yeah, anyway, before we get started, I would like to ask, how are you today, Cody?
I got no complaints. Thanksgiving was a bit of a chore to get through, only because it was just so much chaos, 3 days straight trying to prepare for it. But then when the actual day came, it was all worth it. And now, things are chill again until Christmas preparations start up. Oh, God, please help me. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to be thinking about all this cool stuff we got going on right now. We had the Godzilla Day Festival in Japan that happened. We have Monarch that's currently airing. And in only 4 more days, Godzilla -1 will be coming to American theaters. And I'll get to see that shit. Fuck yeah!
Exactly. And in terms of how Thanksgiving was, yeah, Thanksgiving was real fucking good. Like, here's the thing, like, I tried this recipe, there's this ramen stuff I really like to use called Samyang ramen. It's really fucking good. It's addictive, actually. I love hot food. So what I did with it, and I was given some of this idea by my mother. You know how there's these Thanksgiving sandwiches people make where they'll put a few of the ingredients between a piece of bread and stuff like that? You know how they do that, Cody?
Yeah, I think it's called a wrap.
Yeah, it's something like that. So what I did, my mother gave me, like, originally I was just going to put turkey in it, but my mother told me something like, hey, how about we do like those sandwiches? Instead, with bread, we use ramen. So what I did, started off, boiled it with water, then poured the water out and boiled it with milk, and then put in some stuffing, turkey, hot sauce, cheese, jalapenos, and all that and cranberry sauce, and all that into one thing. When I was making this, I was thinking to myself, this is either going to be really good or fucking vile. But when I tried it, it was amazing. Like, I had it both times. It was great, and everyone really, really liked it. Even Creature got to try it, and he thought it was pretty good.
Right on. That sounds... I gotta say, the way you were describing it sounds freaking amazing. But I know when you're doing a crazy-ass concoction like that, like you said, it's either going to be very good or very vile. There's no in-between with a concoction like that.
Exactly. And luckily it turned out to be good.
Fuck yeah.
Tokumunk Productions said, sounds peak. Yeah, it was. It really was. Looking forward to having it next year. Because I know how to cook ramen very much. I need to learn how to cook other things like that. But for some reason, it was Korean. But for some reason,
okay, diet weeb.
That's racist. So you're saying Koreans are diet Japanese people?
I don't know. I've never tasted one.
You ain't tasting anybody.
That's not what you said last night.
But like for some reason, I'm really good at cooking ramen, but there's a lot of other things I still have to learn. But I'm so good at making ramen. I was able to, like, my mother and brother, they cannot eat ordinary instant noodles anymore because I've done it so well.
Right on, right on. That sounds like pretty amazing. I'm actually proud of you, Joey.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I actually really like to cook. Like, I know that's considered like a feminine thing, but I think it's calming and kills time. I also like to watch cooking videos by channels like Uncle Roger, Gordon Ramsay.
Oh yeah. Cooking is a feminine thing. Go tell that to Gordon fucking Ramsay, you donkey.
Yeah. I don't know why people would say that, but it's like, I like cooking. It's very calm, and I like the process of it. But
right on.
Since we are here, what we're gonna look at... Oh, shit. Did you hear that?
No, what happened?
Okay, it was my video playing. But we're gonna play first. There is a trailer as described to the new Garo series, and we're gonna fucking watch it.
Before we do, though, I want to say to Toku Punk, I'm sorry that you may not be able to see -1. I don't know your circumstances, but that really sucks because I think that every Godzilla fan should have the opportunity to see this movie because it honestly looks like it's going to be amazing, but we'll talk about that later.
Exactly. Let me find a Garo channel because it's in fucking Japanese.
I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
The song for actual weeaboos.
It do be facts, though.
Yeah. Like, I know you guys joke about me being a weeb, but truth be told, when I see videos of actual weeaboos, I cringe like a motherfucker.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. The minute I see them, I instantly hear that song in my head, and I have this horrible fun look on my face. I'm like, I owe Joey so many apologies.
Okay. And here we are with the trailer. I know you're wanting to get into Garo at some point. But yeah. So give me a second. Share my screen.
That's not the only thing you share, you little whore.
Okay. Get that out of the way. I don't think anybody wants.
Damn advertisement!
Oh shit! I don't know what the fuck is that. Oh yeah, that's Yu Hakusho.
私とクレアシティに来てください。
破滅の門が開くだと。
破滅の門には人。
Now to get anybody caught up, those who know Garo lore, that is the lead, not her, but the guy you saw earlier, is the current lead Dogai Ryuga rather than Koga Saejima or anybody like that. And Dogai Ryuga is in the quote-unquote Ryugaverse. Because, here's the thing, when it comes to Garo, it's clear, like, basically, I think it's all one universe, because the anime stuff takes place very far from each other in the past, and the quote-unquote Ryugaverse takes place in the future. So what I think is these are all very tied together, just since that they try to put it far away from the other's timeline, just so they don't have to reference the other series because it's that far away in the future or in the past. That's why you got characters like Zaraba. But that's the lead in this Garo. Some people are mad that it's not Koga again, but it's like, bro, the Saejima era has concluded.
That's all a lot of stuff you said.
Did you get lost?
I'll admit, I was holding on to your hand pretty quick, and then all of a sudden I tripped on a rock, and then I lost your grip, and then I lost you in the fog.
Well, basically what I'm saying is this is a sequel to shows like Garo Goldstorm rather than Chapter of the Black Wolf or Makai Senki. So this isn't following the original Garo, but Dogai Ryuga, which has some people upset for some reason, even though the Saejima era actually concluded in a tight little bow with the film Under the Moon Bow.
Following a new character isn't that big of a deal. I mean, so long as the story itself, as long as it presents a lot of good content within the story that makes it makes the continuation or new story valid, I don't see any problems. Like, for example, to do something that I'm more familiar with, in 1998 and 2005, there were two movies made around the character known as Zorro, but it wasn't like the original Zorro, like Diego de la Vega. It was a new Zorro called Alejandro, played by Antonio Banderas. And in the first movie, he was actually trained by the original Zorro. And even though it's a new character who's taking on the identity, it was still a very valid version of the character, in my opinion. In fact, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The Antonio Banderas portrayed version is actually my preferred version, and mostly because it's Antonio Banderas. You can't go wrong with that, motherfucker.
Didn't he play Puss in Boots?
Yes, which is a direct parody, self-parody of his portrayal of Zorro in those two movies I mentioned. So I'm just saying that it's not that big of a deal if it doesn't go back to the original source material, even though I can understand why people would want it to. But I say at least try to give it a chance on its own merits.
Exactly. Like, hell, I've actually watched one of the shows in the quote-unquote Rugaverse, the first entry. I forgot what it's called, but it was really good. I still got to see Goldstorm. Just a lot of people are still stuck in the Saejima era. And again, the Saejima era is fucking amazing. Watch Garo Chapter of the Black Wolf. It's a phenomenal show. One of my personal favorites. And I'm happy to see him again here. Again, he's not Koga, but it's like, I don't care. That's like complaining that's like complaining about Miles Morales existing, you know?
That's fair. That's a very fair, valid critique and comparison. Actually, even better than the example I came up with, to be honest.
I appreciate it. But let's go back.
人の因果を増大させ、闇へと誘う力があると言われています。
俺たちの手で破壊しよう。
Hammer
や
time.
るしかない。貴様を倒しに来た。
Well, and here's the new knight everyone's on about. First of all, I'm loving the weight and how he hops up there to slice. Like, look at this. Like, I'm loving this new knight form. Like, what would you say his aesthetic is? Like, a lot of them are wolves, but I'm not sure if this one is.
I mean, it looked like a wolf a bit when he was standing just there. Yeah. See, with the pointed ears and the way the shape of the helmet is around it, I'd say that's a very apt basic armor description for a wolf-themed armor.
Yeah, exactly. And overall, everyone's been on about this because it is a very cool-looking armor, and I'm curious to see it in action.
I mean, yeah, even as someone who's on the outside looking in when it comes to Garo, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see it's still using suitmation because as much as I loved Zero Dragon Blood, that show had a bigger focus on CGIs and suits, which is fine. It was still an amazing show, but it's good to see Garo still going back to its suitmation roots that I think kind of went back to a couple years ago, but I could be wrong.
鋼の鎧、白羽相馬。俺は誰とも組むつもりはない。
相馬はきっと父親の帰りを待っているんだと思います。
迷宮アリビスへ行き、破滅の門を封印する。
剣を持て。答えは戦いの中にしかない。闇よりいでし貴様の因果。
Of course. Oh shit! Look at that.
Oh fuck yeah!
Fuck. Let me pause. Like, one of the things in Garo, if you weren't aware, it is very horror like it's action horror dark fantasy, and I'm loving the mix of suit and makeup here because I think that's an actual person's mouth right there.
I think so too, yeah.
It's blending really well at the suits here because this all looks like a part of one person, and it looks fucking horrifying. Look at their eyes.
This is some cool shit, absolutely. One of the things I've always been fascinated with Garo, as much as I like the tokusatsu I've been exposed to thus far, is that it takes on a more mature and darker edge to it. Not that I'm a big old edge lord or anything, it's just that I like variety, and which is why I could easily get into something like this while still enjoying the sillier, campier stuff like Power Rangers, because I'm an uncultured American.
Jokes aside, I am glad you like Power Rangers, and I'm still interested in seeing shows like Dino Thunder.
Power Rangers, Dino Thunder. I really like that show. It's probably my second favorite of the Power Rangers series, but that's for another podcast.
Well, so I'm going to a good spot if I start with that one.
Oh, for sure. And then the best part is it actually has an episode in the first 5, I think, that doesn't do it very good, but it gives you a basic history recap of what the Power Rangers was doing up to that show. Because it has Tommy Oliver who says in the video that the current team watches, "You're about to experience my life as a Power Ranger." And then he starts from where he was, but then even continues off from where he eventually left in the show, going beyond, going to In Space, going to Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Storm, until we're caught up to the then present day of Dino Thunder.
Gotcha. But yeah, when it comes to Garo, one of the things about Garo is it's always kind of been described by me and a few other people as Kamen Rider meets Devil May Cry meets Berserk meets J-horror meets Shinto/Buddhism. And that's one of the things I've always really, really liked about it, is all those elements together make for something fresh and new, and especially in tokusatsu form.
Right on. Even though I have limited exposure to everything you just said, again, just being on the outside looking in, I totally get what everyone's saying about it. And because it's able to take all those elements and mesh them so well together, at least that's what I've heard, and what it looks like so far in this trailer, it makes me all the more curious to want to watch it.
Maybe after Amazon's, we can do Garo.
Fuck yeah!
Because I know we've been on Amazon's for a while because some scheduling with Abyss Kaiser, but as I said now, I now have a better understanding of how the schedules work. So if you join the Discord server, the watch parties will be more planned and more frequent. Since he's basically, when it comes to weekends, free every other weekend, and when it comes to the TV shows, since they're long and there's episodes, I would like everyone to be able to keep up. So I try to start them on days most people can, and that's the weekends. And when it comes to Abyss Kaiser's timing, he's free every other weekend, if that makes sense.
Right on.
So we're able to keep up with all this stuff better. Now, the movie nights, those don't have a specific date, because when it comes to movies, it's not... everyone who joins for that movie is going to finish it in one night,
For sure.
The choreography.
鋼をつく者仕事のしがいがあるよ動画優雅の新たなる物語が始まる
Oh, it looks so good. Like, to give you and the audience some history, Garo for a while was doing what Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Super Sentai were doing, and that was the yearly release thing. Either it would be a part of the Saejima family, the animes, the Ryugaverse, or something else completely new, which was the last Garo show, Garo versus Road, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard is pretty good. Versus Road, on the other hand, that came out in 2020, and that was the last thing Garo that came out for quite a few years. And I like that because it's nice that they're able to take a break and then make a comeback because, one, it makes this announcement all the more exciting since we didn't expect it to come out yearly. Two, there's more of a chance sincerity is here rather than the whole, oh, we got to get this out yearly, we got to get that out yearly. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it can't. Like, Ultraman Blazer came out as a yearly Ultra show, but there's a lot of sincerity put towards it. But when you watch the Ultra series, there's also some entries like Decker that feel kind of like they just exist to fill in the gap of the yearly Ultra show. Decker was fine, but it's like, it was very safe, and overall, it was just an okay show and felt like it was there to fill the gap.
I think another good example from the Ultra series based on reputation is Ultraman Ginga.
Giga? Do you mean Ginga?
Ginga. That's why I said Ginga.
The first Ultraman Ginga, probably, but Ginga S was very good. I will say that. Ginga S was.
Right on.
But yeah, overall, as an outsider looking in, what's your overall thoughts on this trailer, on what you've seen? Like, just as an upcoming show.
I honestly would really like to watch it. It looks cool. The design of the costumes are wonderfully done. The cinematography, the angles are just going for the lighting and the atmosphere. The overall aesthetic seems really cool. And also, it's like Toku, again, Toku's Satsu, but with a bit of an edge. So I'm just like, yeah, I would be willing to watch this. I would prefer it if it was dubbed. Yes, I'm an uncultured American. I'll send you the address where you can shoot me later. But yeah, even if it's not dubbed, I would gladly watch this subbed because, again, it really does look cool to me. That's what boils down to the most. To me, it looks cool. And if it has a great story with great, compelling characters on top of looking cool, that's just another bonus win for me.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I really want to get you into Garo because overall, I think it is right up your alley, especially if here's the thing. A lot of stuff that identifies as action horror really aren't action horror. They're just glorified action movies with something like werewolves, zombies, or whatever. But the Garo franchise is genuine action horror. Like, it focuses on the elements. Like, for example, Chapter of the Black Wolf, like the episodic format, in terms of the monsters, there's a massive ongoing story that develops each episode, but that's for another time. Chapter of the Black Wolf kind of treats the episodic monsters as like a short horror story, and before the Maokai Knights show up, it's focusing on the horrors doing horrifying things to people, being all scary. And then when Garo shows up, the tone turns upbeat because the hero is there. It's a combination of the relief from the action hero saving the day and the horrifying nature of what these demons are capable of. A perfect blend of both genres.
Right on. A good example of what you were saying about stuff that's classified as horror action, but isn't really that horror-y is the Spawn movie with Michael J. White and had John Leguizamo as the Violator. People tend to classify that one under horror action, but nothing scary about that movie. The Spawn movie isn't scary, in my opinion.
Exactly, it's not. And I don't think it's trying to be. It's just trying to be a dark fantasy action film, which is okay. I'm not dogging it for that. But it's like, just because it has demons, dark gothic imagery, does not make it horror.
Absolutely, I agree 100% with you on that.
Or like an actual example of action horror would be Blade as well, because the thing about Blade is when you remove the action hero coming to save the day, it's really just a early 90s to early 2000s vampire movie, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, that's one of the reasons Blade is so cool, because it's like those other 2000s/90s vampire movies. with a superhero.
Yes, a very badass superhero who I gotta say, he's very underrated in his role of saving the comic book movie genre.
He is. That's why
Unfortunately, his saving it also led to what eventually is the MCU today. Oof.
Yeah, it's in a very, very fucking rough state, to say the least.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about garbage. We're here to talk about some quality shit.
That is true. But yeah, next thing on the block is, should we say we're done with Garo? Did we say everything about it?
I think that I've said pretty much everything I can. Again, being an outsider looking in, it looks cool to me. I'd gladly watch it if I got the chance.
Good to know. But that said, let's move on to the next topic. And that is
the next topic.
The Godzilla versus Megalon anniversary shorts.
Fuck yeah.
Might as well go to the picture of this podcast.
Yeah.
Because first, which one do you want to talk about first? The Gemstone short or the versus Jet Jagger short?
Well, for archival purposes, I want to say what led to this. Every year now, Toho holds their own Godzilla Fest. I know everyone knows about the G Fest in Chicago, that from what I heard is slowly going to shit. Whereas Toho's like, we could do that, but we could do it better because we actually made this motherfucker. So they start doing this big anniversary thing celebrating Godzilla in Tokyo, Japan. And as an added bonus, they started revealing. Well, they always had something to reveal at these things, but now they started putting out new shorts, both computer animated shorts, those are the Gemstone shorts, and the Suit Nation shorts, which usually sees the Final Wars Godzilla fighting in another kaiju, be it Hedorah, Gigan, or in the most recent one, Jet Jaguar. So that's where these next two shorts we're going to talk about came from. I actually stayed up very late at night, going into the early morning, watching the live stream, which lasted about 8 hours. I watched up until the last half hour where I just had to shut it off and go to bed, which was unfortunate because that's when they started talking about the -1 stuff. But they had some stuff that was pretty cool. And then there was a part where I ended up almost falling asleep. And Trevor, who was watching, our friend Trevor, who was watching, actually did fall asleep at that part, which was the Godzilla Battle Line mobile thing where they were having a Battle Line tournament. And I'm just like, who cares about these random ass people playing a mobile game on their phones? But luckily, the shorts made up for it, along with the reveal of a new Godzilla -1 trailer. And also a behind the scenes video revealing the behind the scenes stuff for Monarch. So it was just a lot of fun, except for again that one dull moment where I had to mute it and just start listening to music. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the two short films that came out of this year's Godzilla Festival in Japan. So I agree with you, Joey. We should talk about the Gemstone one first.
Okay, the Gemstone one. I gotta say, this is a step in the right direction. It's still not the 20 to 30 minute length I would have wanted, but it is cool that this one actually feels like a movie. Like there's characters, there's a very simplistic story. Granted, so was the previous Gemstone one, but this one is a little more fleshed out and has a little bit more build up to it. And there's some characters here. I wish, but it is cool that we are getting that direction here. Like there's even subtitles now. And I will say, while I do think it should have been longer than 10 minutes, like I think next year, once Gemstone gets more money, we can get that sweet spot for their short kaiju movie, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you want them to get your sweet spot, all right. But I see where you're coming from. In the past, I don't know if you all remember this. Last year, Joey said that he wanted, while he enjoyed the Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex short, which is the first full, well, that's not, for lack of a better term, full short fan film versus the teaser that was the first one, which was G versus G. He said that while he enjoyed the Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex one, he wished that there had been human characters in it for us to follow and for them to get us to care about the people. His words, not mine.
Well, because here's the thing, like the previous ones, like both shorts, we'll get to the other short later because we're talking about gemstones. Is they were really good clips, but they felt like you were watching a clip from a movie, just the fight scenes, which I know that's what some G fans want is the human aspect. We don't care about the humans. When it's like, no, and when people tell me that, oh, you are just being pretentious, you don't like human characters, then how come that I want human characters out of these goddamn shorts? Like, don't put me on your level.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with human characters, despite the fact that if you saw my favorite movies, Godzilla movies list, you might think I did have a bit of a problem with the human characters. No, I actually like the human casts of the movies that are on my favorite Godzilla movies list. I know there's a lot of people who are like, these guys are one-dimensional, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, there's more to them there if you're willing to let yourself be engaged by it. So, like, that's how I feel about the human cast from Godzilla King of the Monsters. I like the human cast of King of the Monsters. I genuinely do. So I don't have a problem with the human cast, but even if there's an underdeveloped human cast, I'd still be willing to like a movie if the monster characters are portrayed well as too. Because here's the thing. Monsters aren't just monsters in Godzilla movies, or at least they shouldn't be, in my opinion. They're also characters, so they need to be presented well, too. So, if there's anything lacking from the human side, if the monster characters are presented well, then I can still appreciate something. And I feel these Gemstone shorts have so far presented the monster characters very well and did a great job of getting who their characters are across to the people with the visual storytelling. So you don't need that weird scene in Godzilla vs. Gigan where Godzilla and Anguirus suddenly are able to talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it comes to the whole when it comes to the Gemstone shorts, well, I will not criticize them for not having developed human characters because that's not what they're trying to be. Like, that's not a criticism on my end. It's more so me stating what I want. And of course, there's
your preference.
Exactly. Of course, there's going to be some people in my Discord server that's going to be covering their ears going, there's no critical way to look at movies. It's like, there is. Like, I'm separating the critical way to look at movies from my preference.
Yeah, I'll admit, even I poked you a little bit when they showed the first teaser for the Godzilla vs. Megalon Gemstone short. He said, I'm not as hyped for this one because I actually like substance. That's not actually how he worded it. It was a bit more in detail. I was just being hyperbolic so that I could move on. But anyways, after he put that out, I responded jokingly, of course, with the meme of Obama awarding himself a medal.
Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm not going to criticize them for the lack of substance because they're basically mostly just made to be clips. And it's like, I can respect them for what they are. And I do enjoy them for what they are. But it's like, there's so much potential a short story could have, especially since these Gemstone shorts are connected to the Heisei era. Like, seeing this as the sequel era of the Heisei films, it just leaves you wanting more. But I won't criticize them for doing what they can, you know?
Right on. I do kind of wish that we could get, if not a fully computer animated movie in this style, at least one that's a good hybrid between this style and also live action stuff like we saw in the Megalon short.
Exactly. And like, here's what I was kind of thinking. I was thinking fans, and I mean talented fans, should get together and maybe like film more scenes and combine these short fights with a bigger plot. Just imagine if someone done that.
Yeah, if actually, even if they waited till next year when there's probably inevitably going to be a third Gemstone short, they could probably even add that one and make it sort of Shin Ultraman scenario where they go from one scenario to the next one and so on, and have them interconnected if a little tedious, slightly tediously.
Yeah, like that's something I would love fans to do. And someone could be like, but if you want it so bad, Golden, why don't you do it? Here's the thing. This might surprise you, but I don't have that kind of talent.
Yeah, even though we talk about things we would like to see, we fully admit that we're not like the people to do it because that's not our department. I'm an ideas guy. I'm a writer. I can write out ideas and give them to people to maybe turn into a full script unless they want me to try my own self. But I can't direct it. I can't be I am not an effects artist guy. I'm not an actor. I'm nothing like that. But I am a viewer. I am a fan. So I'm also a viewer. I'm also a fan. So I could look at what's happening, and it's like this is either this is bad and they should have done this, or this is good but could do better for so and so, or the much more rare, this is good and I have no complaints.
Yeah, like for example, like there's some movie and game critics that go on and make movies. Sometimes they turn out good, and sometimes they turn out bad. But the thing is,
Linkara!
yeah. But the thing is, just because you could give a substantial opinion on something, on how something was done right or something done wrong, does not mean you have the talent to make it. And that's okay. There's a reason I'm reviewing movies and not making them.
And also, just because you don't have the talent to make something else doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to express your opinion on a product that's been put out just because you can't make that product yourself.
Exactly. Like, you can have an opinion, but that does, as long as you acknowledge you yourself can't do it. But the thing is, I've seen some people that try to gatekeep saying, oh, you shouldn't try to judge art if you haven't made anything, which is like, I think that's bullshit, because like, as long as you aren't saying, oh, I could make a better movie than that, what's the problem?
And even then, to those, I still feel like I have a bit of a shield to hide behind anyways, because it's like, I'm a published author, motherfucker, so come at me now.
Exactly. But yeah.
But even if I wasn't a published author, I still feel like I should be allowed to give my own take, just like you should and anyone else should. It's called freedom of speech.
Yep, and being involved in the field doesn't make your opinion more valuable. It's what you're saying. Like, I watched the EFAP podcast with Rags, Mahler, and all of them. As they said something like, Joe Schmo, you could ask Joe Schmo on the street, and he could give you a very informed take that might be even more informed than the filmmaker you're talking about.
Right on.
But yeah, overall, while this isn't my preferred direction, I will say I do appreciate them for keeping the story very, very simple to work in the very short runtime, because nothing here feels crammed in your face or anything like that. The story is very small, and it will get you from A to B. So yeah, they did a really good job here in terms of writing the story, and it's a step in the right direction for something bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, one thing I like about it is that it does build off a little bit of what happened to Gigan Rex, because the remains of Gigan Rex were used to energize and awaken Megalon, which I liked, and they didn't give us a big scope of what Seatopia is in this universe, but they did give us like a taste of it with the priestess who not only awakened Megalon but went up to the surface with him. So I like the fact that they're able to build off of what happened to Gigan Rex and even expand upon it and make a little bit more intricacy. And we even have a point of view from random people throughout Tokyo, so we could get Joe Schmo's point of view, be it the couple on the subway train or the vlogger who's like going into the spot that they really shouldn't be while he's live streaming on YouTube. I gotta say, I really appreciate that little detail there, because I honestly think people are stupid enough that's actually something that really would happen in a scenario like that, So
Yeah.
I'm just like, you guys, at least someone probably heard the critiques. It was like, methinks you need to watch this video, this short, and the short coming out next year. Unless, of course, this might have been a plan from the beginning, or like a plan that was put together after Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex turned out to be such a big success.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, it's a very well done short, and it took objectively talented writing to make it work in such a short time frame. Again, it's not how I would have preferred it, but what I prefer means nothing to the artist, to what the artist is making.
Right on. I got a question for you, Joey. How are you about Megalon's portrayal in the short? Because, and I ask that because some people have made an argument that it goes against Megalon's established character in the Showa movies, where he's a bit of a doofus. So
I think that's fucking stupid. If we want to talk about the Showa movies, like, oh, this goes against Megalon's character of being a doofus, it's like, one, this is a new incarnation. This does not take place in the Showa era. This takes place in the 90s era, the Heisei era. So it's a different incarnation of the character. If we want to talk about non-accurate portrayals of original incarnation, how about we talk about how the 70s movies portrayed Godzilla different than how he originally was?
Right? It's just like, come on. And this one's an even dumber complaint, because, like you said, it's a whole new universe versus how Godzilla versus the 70s movies supposedly being in continuity with the 54 movie.
Exactly. So it's like, if we're going to talk about that, how about we talk about how those 70s movies you're so fond of has done the same thing to Godzilla?
Exactly. So it's just like, it's not like they did anything radically different. They made, instead of making him a doofus, they made him a killer, so a badass, someone you don't want to fuck with, unless you're Godzilla Jr., obviously. And they still kept the basics of his physical attributes the same. They just expanded upon them a bit, like with how they modified his wings. They made his horn thing. They expanded upon what his horn lightning is, and they changed up what his bombs in his mouth were a little bit. And they did it in a way I felt was respectful to what came before. And also, like you said, different continuity, so it's okay to change up the certain aspects of the character a little bit, at least.
Exactly. And also, I'm going to say it, I prefer this Megalon. I think it's these badass incarnations of the kaiju is another reason I wish these films were longer, because it's like, they're so cool. Like, this is the coolest incarnation of Megalon we have yet. He looks intimidating, angry, bulky. He's powerful. All that stuff is just fucking awesome. Like, I find it hard to describe, but how he's overall proportioned here, I think works. Like, look at his mouth. Look at those fucking teeth, dude.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I love this incarnation of Megalon. I think it is a really, really cool take on the character, and I gotta congratulate Gemstone for bringing it to life, because, like I said, I like it more than the original.
To play devil's advocate just a little bit, I could see people who might feel that they're taking the variety away by having a kaiju with such a different personality than what you're used to, like this badass that's come to destroying everyone. Nah, he's just a goofball who's been let off his leash. But at the same time, that version still exists, so you have that one to go back to. So as long as that variety is still there, I don't feel like it's wrong having a more traditional kaiju attitude Megalon in the Gemstone shorts.
Yeah, exactly. And But since we're on the monsters, I gotta say, just like the last Gemstone short, Godzilla looks fucking awesome. I think we can both agree on that. Looks like
hell yeah.
Looks like a modified version of the Heisei suit, which is perfect since this is Godzilla Jr.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that what might have happened over time, because at the end when they show Godzilla Jr. Awakening, they just used the same Godzilla suit again that they had used in Destroya and Space Godzilla to portray him. In universe, maybe like the radiation he absorbed slowly mutated him over time and changed his physical appearance somewhat. But even if that's not really what happened is just my stupid headcanon, there really doesn't need to be a reason. It's fine to do. Go ahead.
No, you finish. You were talking first.
It's fine to do something different as long as like there's a natural progression that gets to it. And besides, this design for Godzilla is just so fucking good.
It is. Like I said, I'm convinced that it is Godzilla Jr. grown up. Also, the animation looks fucking amazing. I have to say that. Like, I feel like I think Gemstone's gotten more money since the previous one. Not saying the previous one was badly animated. For a low-budget fan film, it looked phenomenal. But you can tell there's more money put into this, and it's very smooth with all this weird Dragon Ball stuff they try to do with it. And overall, we were treated to some really excited fight scenes that were intense, and it was long enough to feel like one from a Godzilla movie, because one from a Godzilla movie, you would tend to expect the monster is hurting Godzilla for a while till Godzilla eventually gets the upper hand and wins. And all of that was very fluid.
Right on. Yeah, in the first one, there were some moments where the animation was a little jerky and the monsters, and it seemed a little bit weightless. A criticism that's often levied at the Bayformers movies, where these giant robots that should be like heavy and have weight to them, but there are times where they just seem to be floating around like parade balloons. So there were some moments like that in the last Gemstone short, but I don't think it was intentional. It was just lack of money and lack of time to properly animate it. Whereas with this one, you could tell there was a big improvement on the animation.
Exactly. As a whole, it was a very well-produced movie, and the fact they used a track from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla got me very giddy, but that's because Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla has always had a good reputation in Japan. In fact, while Akira Imoto is a very popular actor, I feel like him playing Akira Yuki in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla is probably why Hideki Anno got him for Shin Godzilla, because he was I don't know if I'd call him a veteran, because veteran might take more than one Godzilla appearance, but he was in a Godzilla movie, one that a lot of people liked. And it was really good that we got to hear that music used for this Heisei-esque Godzilla design that was overall very well shot. Like, the people behind these films have great potential on being directors for wider movies. Like, for example, we got shots of them in a subway train seeing Godzilla pass by. It's overall a very beautiful movie with an amazing musical score. And yeah, the musical score is Toho soundtracks, but the usage of them is so good.
It really was. Every piece of music they chose fit the mood of the scene they put it to. And I also think the heavy usage of the Heisei music specifically is just another way to clue in to the audience that, yeah, this is supposed to be part of that Heisei continuity.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I liked about it. And the use of that Space Godzilla track when he was walking through the city, I felt like it was referencing the scene that track was also used in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. It was a similar time in the day, and how it was shot of him walking through the buildings was overall giving a very similar vibe, which, as a fan of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I greatly appreciated that.
Oh, me too. I'm also a big fan of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. In fact, I'm gonna tell you all right now that Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla is my third favorite Heisei movie.
Good
yes,
taste.
Yes, I like it more than Biolante. Yes, I like it more than Mechagodzilla 2. And I like it more than King Ghidorah. Come at me.
Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is good, but honestly, there is a lot of problems with the movie. And I'm not talking about the time travel aspect. The time travel aspect, when you analyze it, makes sense, but there's a lot of other problems, like the goofy running of Robert Scott, the laughable American acting and such.
Take that, you dinosaur.
And don't get me wrong, I love the awful Americans in the movie. They're fucking hilarious. But let's not try to... But critically speaking, that's a flaw against the movie, as entertaining as they are, am I right?
Oh, totally.
Like, it's a charming flaw, but it's still a flaw.
I can agree with that. Yeah, most definitely. How do you feel they... One thing... Never mind. One thing I am wondering is, like, how soon after Gigan Rex does this take place? Because I'm like, see Godzilla walking through the city. I'm like, has he been there since he defeated Gigan Rex? Or is he just now coming up on shore for whatever reason? It's not...
That might be up for interpretation. I think it probably takes place right after Gigan Rex. Like, I don't think he's left after the fight, and it probably takes place, like, the day after it. But again, I don't really know, but that's how I interpreted it, at least.
Right on. I don't think it's a flaw against the short films, and I don't think anyone else should either, even though there's probably going to be some people who will, because... there's people out there who will look for any little nitpick they can say to be like, oh, this is a big-ass flaw, like Godzilla's tail falling off in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla.
Exactly. Like, that is a nitpick at best.
Right. Yeah. And it, even if there is some valid critiques there, to me, it's not enough to, like, take away from the experience of watching the video, because what they did present as is still so entertaining to me that I can't be mad. I can't be mad at it, even for little details like that may or may not actually be a problem, or the subtitles that admittedly need to be more localized than what they were.
Oh, definitely. But it was nice to see it in proper quality. Other than that, it was nice to see it with subtitles and proper voice quality. Other than that awful audio we were treated to on the stream.
Right. I think that was done as a way to try to keep people from pirating it. But my take from that is, y'all are going to be putting this up on your YouTube channel right afterwards anyway, so what's even the point?
Exactly. But anyway, anything else you have to say about versus Megalon?
Oh, I just wanted to ask a little bit, just go a little bit further. We talked about Megalon's character and his portrayal, and we talked a bit about Godzilla's physical appearance, but what would you say they did for his character here?
What they did for Godzilla's character, I'd say he's basically the same as he was in Gigan Rex, and that's not a knock. Gigan Rex introduced him, and he still has that same highly intelligent and still somewhat mad personality about humanity and such. Basically, the typical Godzilla portrayal. The force of nature made to punish.
Although it makes me wonder, is the source of his anger being the fact that he could see humanity as taking his father away and leaving him alone, or is it just him being angry in general that his dad's gone and he's all alone?
I feel like that might be it, but that's another reason why I would kind of prefer a longer runtime, because just imagine the drama we can get from this with Miki Saigusa, the overall lore that can go around Godzilla.
Yeah, there's definitely room to expand upon, and I sincerely hope they do eventually, or if not, then some fans who have the talent for it, do your idea of filming scenes that could connect all these shorts into one single narrative. But guess all we can do is see.
Exactly.
Oh, and one more thing. They don't have the sliding tail drop kick in this short, but they came pretty damn close when he did an actual drop kick to Megalon right out of professional wrestling. I saw that, I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. But as a whole, it's a great short. I'm not sure about you, but it's still too short for me to really be comfortable on giving it a rating because there's not really enough meat here. Like, I'm not saying people can't give ratings for 10-minute movies, but it's like I need more meat for me to feel comfortable in breaking it down and giving a score, because I feel like if I rated something like a certain score, it wouldn't be fair. So it's like, all I can say is it's a good short, worth spending your time. And
you want more meat, do you? You want more meat, do you?
Like, for example, like I will be comfortable in giving a full-on review of films like the 90s Kamen Rider films, not Shin Kamen Rider because that was a feature-length movie, but G.N.O and J, because those were like 40-some minutes, and it's like they had enough meat to analyze in a review. 30 minutes too. Hell, probably even like 25 minutes I could even be comfortable analyzing and giving a score. But something like 10 minutes, it's a step in the right direction, but still hard to give a solid number towards, if that makes sense.
So, do you want more meat in your mouth or up your bunghole, or do you want them both at the same time? Giddy goo.
But overall,
but in all honesty, I agree with what you said. There's still not enough here to give a proper critique of it, proper rating of it. I mean, my bad. But all I can say now is it was good stuff. I liked it. I hope they do another one.
Agreed. I hope they do another one, and hopefully it's even longer than this one. If not, that's okay. Like, I'm not some ungrateful fan that's going to be like, oh, you must make a feature-length film, or you must make something that's like 25 to 40 minutes, because that's not my job. Like, at least they're keeping the plot simple enough for the runtime, which is the most fair critique I could give, and they're doing it right.
Right on. Yeah, you're not an ungrateful fan. You're not a Godzilla fan on Twitter.
Exactly. But overall, great short. Definitely worth spending your time with, in my personal opinion. There's a lot of talent here. And that's why I want more, because there is a lot of talent here. They're good.
Absolutely. So, here's hoping for the best with the Gemstone stuff going forward.
Exactly. But now let's talk about the other short, and that is Godzilla versus Jet Jagger.
Godzilla and Jagger, they punch!
I was originally going to sing that, but I was like, you know what? Cody's going to do it, so I let you have that.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Joey, you're a rude motherfucker, but you cute as hell.
Ooh, I appreciate that.
I know you do, sweetums.
Our shit talk is probably the main reason people watch this podcast, to be honest.
Either that or it's the main reason they run away.
Yeah. But I gotta say, this was another really good short. It was once again directed by the guy, I forgot his name, that directs a lot of fights in Ultraman shows. And it was still very well shot. We got a lot of really good aspects, like Ultraman jumping. There was a lot of weight to his jump, too. Not Ultraman! Holy shit! Jet Jagger jumping and doing a kick. And there was a lot of weight to that shit. Everything about the fight felt like an Ultra fight by the way it was shot, the weight of the combat, the suits. Everything there was really good. And that's another reason why I'm going to say again here, Toho, give us a Tokusatsu Ultraman show written and directed by this guy. Come on. Not Ultraman. I'm a fucking... Jet Jagger show. Oh, God. Why do I keep calling Jet Jagger Ultraman? I knew Jet Jagger first.
I mean, I get it, because even now, Jet Jagger can't get out of the shadow of Ultraman. But in all honesty, when you think about it, it makes sense that people would confuse the suit too, because, well, I think for most people, Ultraman Man is more iconic, even if they did come in contact with Jet Jaguar first. He only made the one appearance in that one movie, and Whereas Ultraman's been going on and on and on for so long that you can't help but think of Ultraman. When people think of giant guys fighting giant monsters, their first instinct is probably going to be to go to Ultraman, even though there's been a bunch of other giant heroes like that. Even though
because Ultraman started it.
yes, absolutely. And Jet Jaguar was sort of born out of that trend too, because even though Jet Jaguar looks cool, I actually like his design, even though some people think he looks a bit dopey or goofy. This is not how Jet Jaguar was going to look originally. There was a contest, as most people know, well, most Godzilla fans know, there was a contest done where children sent in drawings of robots for them to hold on. The contest had kids draw pictures of giant robots and send them in, and they would pick the one they liked the most and make a movie for it. And even though they picked one kid's drawing, they drastically altered it. Even after they revealed the initial Jet Jaguar suit, which was different from the kid's design, they actually showed it on TV, and the kid had a really disappointed look on his face when he saw what became of his drawing. It wasn't even the same name. And even after that big reveal on television, they still altered it more until we got the Jet Jaguar that we see today.
Oh yeah, but that's because they basically wanted to take what was popular at the time and mix elements of Ultraman and Mazinger Z into one being, and that's how Jet Jaguar turned out. And ever since, I think Singular Point is responsible for this. Jet Jaguar has become a very beloved character, and that's why when he came out on that Godzilla live stream, everyone in the Japanese audience started cheering their asses off. And overall, I think they've been doing a really good job at making these new suits that match with the old ones, because this looks like an upgraded Jet Jaguar suit. It looks clean. The lights in the eyes look mechanical. Overall, I can't complain at all. And it just overall feels like something out of a tokusatsu show. And it's overall still very well shot. Like when Godzilla's firing his atomic breath at him, how he dodges it and it hits the buildings and runs towards Godzilla. That shit is fucking fire. And this is another reason, if it's the way it's shot feels exactly like it came out of an Ultra show. And it just creates so much potential because it is a very well filmed fight. And the Godzilla suit, many people are speculating that this isn't the Final Wars Godzilla suit, and not from the movie, but the promotional suit. I'm still not sure about that. Either way, I think it works as a short thing. It looks like it came out of a TV show rather than a big budget movie, which is okay, because not everything needs to feel like a big budget movie, because it's not. It's a short. It's more in line with something like Ultraman. And that's one of the reasons I'm very charmed about this, and I want to see it put on television, because there is a lot of potential there. And the reusage of King Ghidorah was amazing, because even though it's the GMK suit, and either it's because the Ghidorah suit's gotten old, or the less polish put into the short due to it being just a short fight, the fight, it still looks really good and holds a lot of weight, especially with how Ghidorah is revealed in a similar sense to the Showa one. It starts with this fire star-like thing in the sky and then transitions to Ghidorah. And all that was very well put together.
Right on. I think another thing that might have also brought up Jet Jaguar's popularity, not just to go back to a point you made, might have also been how he was portrayed in the Rulers of Earth comic book, at least here in America. That might have also been a new source for Jet Jaguar's popularity.
It might have been. But yeah.
Because when I remember when that came back, all the Godzilla fans that I was following on YouTube were talking about how they turned Jet Jaguar cool or whatever. And I'm like, Jet Jaguar has always been cool. Y'all were just hating.
Yeah, Jet Jaguar was always goofy fun, and even this short, it ends in a goofy fun way, having him and Godzilla shake hands. And you know what? I like that the references in this short feel actually connected to the plot. They're not there for the sake of it. Like Ghidorah coming out in a similar sense that he does in the Showa era makes sense because it is the reveal of Ghidorah. It's not just a random fan service thrown in the face. Godzilla shaking hands with Jet Jaguar makes perfect sense because they are outmatched by Ghidorah, so now they're working together. Like, there's a good way to do fan service and a bad way to do fan service, just like there's a good way to do politics and a bad way to do politics or things like that. It's all a matter of how it's written into the plot. And it did a really good job.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't say they were actually shaking hands as much as Jet Jaguar was helping Godzilla up because, well, he knew that he was going to need some help against King Ghidorah. He's like, Godzilla, you're the only one here who can help me. You have a reason to dislike Ghidorah since he attacked you, so let's get him together. And he expressed that with the only way he knew how to because, well, he can't actually talk. He's a robot. So he did what you'd probably seen a whole bunch of other human beings did, and he did the thumbs up. He did the fucking Jet Jaguar thumbs up. Oh my god!
Yeah, like, all the fan service is very well written and isn't there for the sake of it, like I heard The Flash. But that's the thing, like, there's, like, some people treat fan service like it's an automatic bad thing when it's not. Fan service, it's all a matter of how it's written. Just like when it comes to politics, being political isn't a bad thing, it's how it's written into the story. And this, it was well written. And see, that's critical thinking there, because again, I still wish we had more than basically just a little bit above a clip on YouTube, but how it's executed with its simplistic plot is very good writing. And that's why I want more! Toho, where's my Tokusatsu Tokusatsu Godzilla show? I gotta stop saying fucking Ultraman.
Yeah, why are you saying fucking Ultraman? Do you want to fuck Ultraman?
Apparently I do. But Tokusatsu Godzilla show like Ultraman. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Especially since this is shot by the guy who directed a lot of those Ultraman shows. So it's like, give us one. So much potential here.
Something else I want to say that I appreciate about the writing of the short is that they connect it back to the Hedorah short and the Gigan short to make it clear, in case it wasn't already, that these all share a continuity together. And on top of that intricacy, they also add the intricacy of having actually a scene from the human's point of view, the humans making a response to the monsters showing up, including Godzilla, who no longer has anyone to fight. So he's like, I have no one to play with. Ooh, toys! Proceeds to destroy Tokyo. And humanity's like, nuh-uh, you go into your room. It's time for bed. Godzilla's like, no. And it's like, all right, Papa Jaguar, spank him.
Tokupunk Productions said, Joey is a Tiga fan, so searching for a man with all the right stuff.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Referencing that cheesy-ass 4Kids song that's actually kind of charming, if I'm being honest.
It's the only good thing about the Americanization of Tiga.
It is! By a long shot.
Even as someone who prefers dubs, when I tried watching, I couldn't even make it past the first 5 minutes of the first episode when I tried to watch a dub, and I was just like, never mind.
That's 4Kids for you. Like, 4Kids, even amongst people who like dubs, doesn't have a good reputation.
They got a bad reputation. But, yeah, what was I going to say next? Yeah, I made peace with the fact that we're probably not going to get a more polished Final Wars Godzilla suit. I would like them to, because this one looks even rougher here in the short, which is such a shame because they come up with these great angles for the cinematography to shoot him from, and he looks so good. He is, especially at the beginning when like they show him walking by and they show at first only his foot and then go up his leg and then they show his head while the Godzilla theme's playing. Dun 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 dun, and then it cuts to a view where we get to see his face like from straight on, and it looks, the cinematography itself looks so cool, but then you see how withered the Final Wars suit is, and it's just like, oh, they're doing you dirty boy. But then it's just like, But I understand that either the suit's just old, or like you said, it's apparently the promotional suit that wasn't actually used for the movie, but for public appearances. So I'm like, yeah, this is probably the best we're going to get for these shorts, and I made my peace with it. However, if they do make a Godzilla Tokusatsu TV show, like you're saying you want them to, and I've made it clear in the past that I want them to do the same too. If they do that, they either need to touch up this suit and make it look better, or they need to discard it and make a brand new Final Wars suit because, well, you see the effort they went to with the Jet Jaguar suit, even though the chest piece immediately doesn't sit fully well. It's just like, what was I? Where was it going? But basically, I want these to be the best, absolute best they can be, both aesthetically and in terms of execution of the plots and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, though I don't necessarily agree on them needing to replace the Godzilla suit, because I think for short films and a TV show, that's perfectly fine, because the thing is, a TV show isn't going to look the same as a movie. Like, when you compare Godzilla and Monarch Legacy to Godzilla and any of the MonsterVerse films, you can see the texture and detail on the CGI model in those movies is stronger than the one in Monarch. Now, Monarch does come close to a movie because, well, TV shows, well, at least streaming service shows, are getting far bigger budgets than they used to. And also, the kaiju usage, as you already can tell, is in moderation. But still, even with that big budget and moderate use of kaiju stuff, it still doesn't look like the movies. And I think for a TV show or short film, it looks polished enough. I'm not expecting it to look as good as it did in Final Wars, because Final Wars is a $19 million budget movie that had a longer deadline than a TV show episode or a short film like this.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you. It's not for the fact that they clearly put in efforts into making these new suits, like what they did for the Gigan suit last year, and then seeing how far they went for the Jet Jaguar suit here. And they even touched up the Ghidorah's GMK suit a bit, giving it longer necks, which might have been for the commercial first, but then they're like, hey, we just cleaned this up, let's use it for this short here and tease what's going to come next year. But I'm just saying, good quality all around would be nice.
Oh yeah, I completely get that opinion too, 100%.
Mm-hmm. But even taking that away, this was still a very fun experience, getting to see Jet Jaguar do parkour like he was a Kamen Rider, except the size of Ultraman, and then doing the rider kick, like, except again the size of Ultraman. That was all done, executed really well. So that was fun, and it's goofy that they brought in the goofy henshin hero stuff, and I mean that in the best of ways. But also they gave it such great cinematography. I wonder if the guy who did this short might have also done the first episode specifically of Ultraman Blazar, because there are shots in here that really reminded me of that very first episode of Blazar specifically, like where they're trying to give Gamera 3 a run for their money in terms of executing tokusatsu effects.
Oh yeah, like, I think that might be him. I could be wrong, because he also did Zet and Orb, and I do agree with you in that regard.
Right on. One of my favorite shots was they showed us the inside of a building that Jet Jaguar ended up accidentally punching through, and like, it just looks so well done. It's like you could almost think there was someone actually in there at some point. I was almost kind of surprised we didn't actually see someone running by, because it was so well done. Like, if only they could put a person inside that building, then the illusion would be complete.
I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. Overall, there was a lot of effort put into these, and that's what I admire. Looking forward to next year's. But before I wonder
if next year might be the finale to these tokusatsu short films, because that's kind of how it feels to me with them bringing in King Ghidorah the way they did. It's like, is the next year's video going to be the last video?
It might. I don't think so. I think Toho's going to be doing this as a yearly tradition. But if it is, as long as they make it go out with a bang, I'm cool with it.
Right on. I also want to say something about the musical score used for this. I liked that, except for the classic Godzilla theme, they stuck with the mostly Millennium music because the Millennium music fits the tone of what they were doing with this short. At first, I was a little bit, At first, I was a little bit iffy about them using Ghidorah's GMK theme because I'm like, I associate that with the heroic Ghidorah. So I'm like, why didn't they use his classic theme, or at least the revamp of it we got in the Heisei series, where it honestly sounded as best to me? You know, the bum 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 ba.
That one.
Yeah, but it's like, I get that they wanted it to match the suit they were using, and then I'm like, you know what? I can associate it with a mean Ghidorah because it still sounds foreboding enough to be associated with a villainous Ghidorah if that's the route they wanted to go, which clearly they did, because the music matched with what Ghidorah was doing. All the shots, even the one of him in front of that shrine, it's like it was in time with everything that was happening. So that maybe made peace with the fact that they were using the GMK Ghidorah theme rather than the classic theme.
Yeah, exactly. And it was overall just using a very smart usage of fan service, as already stated.
Right.
Tokupunk Productions said Matt from Monstrosities was really going on about how it's so low budget. Oh my god, bro. This is a short film made for YouTube. It's not gonna be the biggest budget thing. Also, if you don't like low budgets, why are you watching tokusatsu to begin with? One of the main appeals of watching tokusatsu, or hell, even fucking anime, is seeing what people can do, seeing people put their talents to use on a much smaller budget. Because something Hollywood is good at is throwing a bunch of money on the screen to make sure talent isn't necessary. Even though a lot of the times it looks like shit, it still looks quote unquote real enough for the general audience. While there's much more sincere effort into this low budget put in, because it's reliant on their effort.
And even then, I don't, except for the Godzilla suit, I don't see what he means by low budget. To me, it looks like a scene right out of one of the Millennium movies.
Exactly. It is, well, I'd say more so it looks like a scene out of Ultraman, but it's like,
fair.
But for a short film or a TV show, that's really good. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, what are you wanting? Like, if something like -1 looked like this, it's like, fine, criticize it. It's like, it's a movie. It has a longer deadline, a bigger budget. It shouldn't look like this. But for a short film made for YouTube or a television show, it looked fucking amazing.
I gotta say something straight up, and I don't know how this is gonna go over, but I've gotta be honest. I'm not talking about him as a person because I don't know him as a person, but in terms of a content creator, a reviewer, someone who's going out into the public to give his takes, I don't like Matt from Monstrosities. I really don't. He has some takes that he forms on either very biased side to where he closes his mind off to any other people's takes that are different from his, or like ones that just don't make any sense at all. Yeah.
I heard some of those takes, and it's like, I can agree with, like, I like Monstrosities. He makes some really good documentary content, like that one he did on the history of Kamen Rider, Kamen Rider Gaia. He did that little documentary thing. Very well done. Mm. But when it comes to his opinions, some of the stuff he says, bro, it's like what he said about this short, like, oh, it's so low budget. It's like, why are you why are you watching television? 2, why are you watching tokusatsu if you want a lot of money? The whole point of a big point, not the only point of tokusatsu, because there's also style and stuff like that in Toku, but one of the big points of Toku is seeing the talent that goes into putting something together on a much smaller budget. It's all about the craft.
Right on, right on. And also, Tuco Punk, I'm glad to know that he's a very nice guy. So, Matt is. So, that's why I made the distinction between the person and the content creator, because I don't know Matt as a person. He probably is a really cool dude, but I can't get into his content because even though he's allowed to his own opinions, everyone is, the foundation of those takes just seems so to me, to where I can't get into it.
That's basically what I also feel about a lot of Dangerville's takes, or even Omniviewers, which Omni's a very nice guy. I've seen how he talks. He likes to chill out and stuff like that. A lot of respect for him as a person, but there's a few of the takes he gives where I'm like, and I'm the same way with Dangerville in that regard.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I stopped watching Dangerville on the regular. They have to put out a video that really catches my attention for me to watch them because of those reasons. But Ryan, aka Omniviewer, I can watch his content fine because, well, he's a friend of mine. I know who he is. I know what he's about. I know where he's coming from. So even though he has takes that I don't fully agree with, like his take on Shin Godzilla, I don't fully agree with. I'm just like, okay,
Exactly.
I'm at peace with the fact that you and I have different takes. Hell, you and I have vastly different takes, and we're still friends, and we can get along.
Exactly. Like, all we do is make fun of each other, but that's all in good fun.
Yeah, that and the fact that you really are an ignorant fuckwad.
Yeah. Tokupunk said, I stopped watching Omniviewer a long time ago. Again, I have no issue with Omniviewer. I think he has some solid content, and overall he has a likable, calm personality that seems to want to avoid controversy. I just think some of his opinions are biased. Like on that one review he did of Ultraman Blazer, said it's a Shin Godzilla done right. He brought up these very surface level similarities to Shin Godzilla that mostly boiled down to the fact he liked the direction, he liked the vision more than the execution. It's like a lot of his criticisms for stuff like Shin Godzilla boils down to, this isn't for me, which is okay, but Ano doesn't have to cater to everyone. When you're an artist, you make something that's your vision, and it'll appeal to some people, and it won't appeal to others, which is fine.
Yeah, I think Omniviewer's problem is that he falls into the same trap that I was falling into for a long time, where he thinks that his subjectivity is an objective fact and that everyone should see it as such, when in all reality, it's really not. It's different strokes for different folks when you stop to think about it.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I try to do with my channel. And even when it comes to when it comes to me looking at things critically, again, while I'm bringing in the objectivity to it, my overall review is still my subjective perception that can be disagreed with and challenged.
Right on.
But yeah, overall, really good short. I would highly recommend it if you haven't watched it already.
For sure. And let's see where. Basically, my opinion is the same. I love both these shorts. They were really fun, very entertaining, but they're also samples of what could be more if we could just get on board and get maybe a film from Gemstone, or maybe an animated series from Gemstone, or a film for the Godzilla's, the Summation shorts, or a tokusatsu show like Joey and I both say we want.
Exactly. Like, these are all super well done and a massive display on talent for what can be more. And if we don't get it, that's okay. I'm cool with these little shorts, but it's that they're so cool. I would love to see what else these people are capable of.
They left us wanting more in the best of ways. Let's put it like that.
Exactly. Of course, in a similar sense, I can't exactly give a rating for this because it doesn't really have enough meat for me to feel comfortable scoring. All I can really say is, good job, guys. You made another solid film. Looking forward to what else you guys can make.
Joey really wants that meat. He wants to put it in his mouth. Give him meat.
But anything more you have to say?
Which one of these do you prefer if you had to pick?
For me, that's tough because I really like both of the directions these films are going. The Gemstone shorts are really cool with how they balance CGI animated fights with real people. That blew my mind, actually. And also the Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla music was nice. The cool new redesign of Megalon, the tie-in to the Heisei era. But what this offers, beautiful choreography that feels straight out of Ultraman, some great suits that aren't anything new like what Gemstone gives, but that's the charm of this, because the charm of these is they're very fan servicely driven. We are getting established designs shown to us once again, and overall it's very entertaining and does its job. So that's tough for me to pick because I really enjoyed both.
That's fair. Tokupunk, seeing as how you're the only viewer here still watching, did you have a preference for any of these either of these shorts? While we're waiting for you to answer, I guess I'll give my take. I feel basically the same. I was honestly very much impressed with both of them. Honestly, when they first started showing human characters in the Gemstone short, I had to wonder, are they computer animated too? But then later on, you see they're clearly live action, and seeing that such a good blend from them was, like you said, very impressive. So I'm just like, wow, that's cool. These are both really cool. I wouldn't pick one over the other either, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Exactly. Like, both are just so well done. It's hard to pick because they have their differences that I really enjoyed out of both.
Yes. So I guess we could just leave it at that. Both are good. Watch them both before Toho takes them away for whatever reason, assuming they do.
Yep. But
that's another thing. The fact that Toho actually gave us this one on their YouTube channel after Bocarding Gigan last year. It's just like, was that so hard?
Yeah, maybe they're learning.
Hopefully, if they were really learning, they would learn that they should probably put the Gigan one on their YouTube channel too. And put the Hedora one back on too.
Exactly. Maybe they will at some point.
I guess we'll see. Oh, Tokupunk says Jet won better because handshake. Fair enough.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, even though it wasn't in the short itself, when they used the Jet Jaguar song as the end credits, that made me smile. It was very charming.
Yes. It was definitely had a lot of talent put towards it, and a lot of sincerity.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We keep on trying to end this so we can get into the next topic, but I've just had so much fun. This is a great time to be a Godzilla fan and a Tokusatsu fan in general. We've been just having all this great stuff coming out, and I've been enjoying it. This is so much fun.
It is. But, of course, 1 minute. Fuck. But to set the tone for what we're looking at next, of course, since we're going on Monarch Legacy, we gotta appreciate that amazing ass by Anna Sawai.
Oh God! Oh,
come on!
She got the booty. She do.
Come on, she's hot. Just for a little extra research, you know.
Oh, totally.
But in terms of Monarch Legacy, we're going to start with episode 1. Should we go to something Monarch, or should we keep it on Anna's ass?
I don't know. I'm afraid if we keep it on too long, I might actually do what I was faking that I was doing before. So let's move on to an actual image from the show.
Tokupunk said, "Yum." Okay. We're going to start with Monarch episode 1. Okay. And
every beginning has a start, and every start has a beginning.
Okay. This episode, I'll let you do the plot summary first.
Okay. So basically what it is Kate after going through surviving, as you see here in this picture, the events of what they call G-Day, she goes to Japan to get her dad's affairs in order, like roughly a year later. He's assumed dead because he went missing, and so he arrives to find that her dad actually has another family in Japan, and that dad might also have more secrets in the form of his connection, the whole family's connection actually, to Monarch, and pursuing those connections against her better judgment has led both Kate and her half brother from Japan, Kentaro, and also a friend of theirs named May, led them to getting caught in Monarch's crosshairs, and we get to see a darker side of Monarch than what was presented in the movies thus far.
Yeah, exactly. And overall, which for you bringing that up, something this show does amazing at is world building. This is what the MonsterVerse fucking needed. Because every MonsterVerse entry, it would try to introduce something, and then the next movie, forget about it. And that's something I really could not stand. But this show is dedicated to world building. In fact, I'd say that is the main point of this show's existence, is world building. And when it comes to the cast of characters here, it explains their backstories well enough. Like, we got Kate, played by Anna Sawai, who we were just thirsting over.
Because she hot?
She is, yeah. But overall, it like, some people don't like the fact that her and her half-brother are kind of mean to each other from the start, but it's like, wouldn't you be a little salty if your parent had a secret life you didn't know about and was cheating on your mother and had another family? It makes sense. It's understandable why both Kate, and I forgot her brother's name, would
Kentaro.
Kentaro, dislike each other forever.
Ken.
Yeah.
Kentaro.
Okay, Kentaro.
Like a Kenny.
Yeah. It makes sense that they are dickish, but here's the thing. They are having trouble accepting the fact that their dad cheated on their mother, and that's presented very well here. And I'm very curious to see how it'll go, because right now we know of their past, we know of the circumstances of the situation, and I know some people are going to go, "Oh, geez, they're so mean," and it's like, that's called good writing, motherfucker. It's like, life isn't sunshine and rainbows. They just found out that their father had a secret life they were not aware about, and not to mention, both Kentaro and Kate are being mean towards each other. So obviously that's going to reflect some aggression on both ends.
Yeah, they both gone through their own little traumatic experiences, sort of. Kate even more so because, well, she was right there on the San Francisco bridge during Godzilla's rampage. So she has a little bit of PTSD too. And she's trying to deal with that while also dealing with the fact that not only is her dad probably dead, but he also went off and had another family in Japan too. So it's like she has to wonder, what else is he keeping from him? And she really has no reason to like Kentaro or his mom, even though his mom was a fucking saint in this first episode. I really liked the way that she was portrayed.
Yeah,
and
one of the things I like about her is when you're paying attention to Anna Sawai's facial reactions and such, like when she's on the plane, that this woman's been through a lot. She's terrified, she's emotional, and then she finds out shit like this.
And then on top of that, right afterwards, she also has to go through a Godzilla drill in Japan, which I gotta say, the fact that we're seeing that happen in Japan from a meta perspective makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. Because, like, if any country in the world in any other continuity would have a reason to have Godzilla drills, it would be Japan.
Yeah. And that's...
But, also the fact that I also like that little world building thing of them about him, like, where we see Japan has built up their defenses and also has these what's the word? Has these plans in place for in case there is a Godzilla / giant monster attack or whatever. prefer. I like that little bit of world building, along with the fact there are actually some people who, these dumbass conspiracy theorists, as in real life, who deny it even happened. Like the cab driver who's like, oh, it was done in CGI, and I have a podcast to prove it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I do like about this is the humorous aspect of this show. Unlike some of the humor in King of the Monsters and even GBK, you could probably throw in there. It comes in natural. Well, I didn't have a problem with the humor in GBK, but a lot of humor in King of the Monsters felt straight out of an MCU movie of just being there for the sake of being there, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks rather than actually making sense with the scenario. Here, it made perfect sense because there is conspiracy theorists like that, and it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of the humor that's been presented thus far. It hasn't been really intrusive. It's been very strategically placed in a way that actually not only is it intrusive, it can make sense to an extent. Take notes, MCU.
Exactly, because like I said, it doesn't just come for the sake of it because she's in a car. They're randomly starting up a conversation like a taxi driver sometimes will with someone in there. And of course, since Godzilla was a big event that was brought in, it makes sense people would be talking about that big news, whether or not they actually believe it or are just a crazy conspiracy theorist like him.
Yeah, that's actually something I really appreciate about the show so far, is those little bits of world building that people said we needed from the movies, but for whatever reason we couldn't get or haven't gotten, which I chalk up to the fact that writers in America don't know how to write stuff that isn't an expanded TV show anymore. So, like, the television series that Monarch is gave us a platform to where we could have compelling human characters, compelling world building, while also giving a sufficient amount of monster stuff, even if it's not as plentiful as it is in the movies.
Exactly. Tokupunk
Yeah.
Productions said, GVK felt like a cringe Stranger Things ep, worse than King of the Monsters. Oh, Cody's gonna get triggered.
That's fine. People are gonna have their own opinions. I'm like, Tokupunk's not into Stranger Things. I made my peace with that.
True. I was still hoping you were gonna roast his ass though.
Oh, okay. Let me try again. Tokupunk, how dare you say that? You bitch mother. I gonna hit you and you gonna fall to the floor. 1, 2, 3. Dun, dun, dun. How's that?
Oh god. But yeah, in terms of Kentaro and Kate, it's a really good start for the relationship that, again, they are both struggling with accepting the fact because they knew nothing of this. And now they are being forced to kind of accept each other because they have to go out and solve whatever mystery that revolves around it. So they are being put into a position to kind of grow to like each other. It's not being displayed in the first episode, but it is a start of it, which is good writing because it gives everything time to breathe.
Right on. Yeah.
It gives them both time to come to terms with the fact that their dad was cheating on them, cheating on their mothers.
Right on. There's so much I want to talk about, so I'm getting a little scattered brain, in case y'all couldn't tell. There's a lot of stuff going on in the show, and I mean in the best of ways. There's so many intricacies that you want to pick apart. We were talking about Kate, then I sort of went off about Kentaro and his mom, then I went to the world building, the Godzilla drills, and then the world building as a whole. It's just like, there's so much to talk about. Where's a good place to go to?
Exactly. And another thing, let me look at my notes and see what else, because this is also an episode of a TV. Okay. The father, I would like to say, does an amazing job because we do not know much about him right now. We know as little about him as our cast of characters, which puts us in their perspective on him not being the man they once knew him to be. But in a sense, even though we know little about him, we still feel sympathy because the actor there, when he's talking to Kate in the flashback, you can tell there's some remorse for what he's doing to display that he cared about both of his families, even though he was doing something wrong, leaving us alongside Kate and Kintaro wanting to learn more about him and what exactly happened because the fact we know he actually cares.
Wait a minute. The father didn't get milk. Toku Punk, are we watching the same show? He had 2 wives with a child of their own. He got that milk.
Yeah, he got some mommy milkers.
But yeah, I will say for Hiroshi, that's the father's name, that for the time he was on screen, he was presented well, he acted well, and it really helped to serve the story. What the main crux of this, at least the modern story, is, which is Kate and Kintaro teaming up with May, and then later Lee Shaw, an elder Lee Shaw, played by Kurt Russell, going off to find Hiroshi, and also uncovering what he was trying to find along the way.
Exactly. And also,
So,
finish.
No, you go on ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, what I was saying, I was about to go on to another aspect, so I want you to finish what you're saying about the characters and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I understand where Kate is coming from. You can't always expect someone to be a fun-loving, likable person all right away, because if it doesn't serve the story well, then it's like there's a total confusion there. Look, there needs to be more variety in storytelling than just having someone who's like all upbeat and chipper and likable and accepting of everyone right off the bat. Kate is a layered character, and so is Kintaro. Like, they were all living their own lives when all of a sudden, wow, this Godzilla stuff happened, especially to Kate more directly. And then their father suddenly died, and then all of a sudden they find each other. It's like, your dad cheated on my mom with your mom. No, your dad cheated on my mom with your mom. It's a very understandable dynamic if you actually have a brain big enough to think about it.
Exactly. Like, you have all these people that's going, oh, they're so mean. And it's like, that's not a substantial critique whatsoever. It's just the fact that you don't. Basically, what you're wanting is objectively inferior writing because you're wanting them to be all hunky-dory from when they first meet. That's not character development. The whole point is being uncomfortable at first and then eventually growing. That's what made shows like Garo, Berserk, and so many other things good, because at the beginning, they aren't comfortable with each other, but eventually good writing and dynamic builds them up to changing as people. And I know there's some people that's going to be like, but I can't root for this. Then shut the fuck up and watch something else. It's not just because everything has to be all hunky-dory for you, don't ruin the writing for everyone else by giving bad advice to the writers.
Yeah, I think that as presented it's a good character study on the human condition, or as close to the human condition as you could get in a world where giant monsters live. It feels very natural, and I will say, spoilers for when we talk about episodes 2 and 3, they do slowly start to warm up to each other, and sort of form this unity together through a mutual task and through a bridge that is Lee Shaw. Sort of, it's like finding Kurt Russell's character is sort of the bridge that helped bring them together, because he pushed them further into finding their dad, being chased by Monarch be damned.
Exactly. Tokupunk Productions said the main criticism I hear is the CGI is really bad and feels out of place, but I think it's great. Those people are idiots and are wanting it to look like a movie. Guess what, motherfuckers? It's a TV show. While the budget is close to a movie on an episode, it's still not exactly it. Not to mention, the budget there, not to mention it's on a much smaller deadline than a movie, because if it wasn't, you know how long it would take to get a TV show episode out it would take fucking forever. It would take like putting a year towards one episode, a year for another. Monarch would be out in 10 years if each episode was given the attention and time of a movie. And shows like Kamen Rider and Ultraman, those I would be fucking dead when the next few entries came out. But
okay,
that's
yeah,
the thing.
some people are just so fucking cringe. Mostly these American fanboys, and like, I gotta say this: people seem like they want to. Godzilla fans seem like right off the bat they were ready to hate Monarch just because it existed. Some people are like, "Oh, I'm burnt out on the MonsterVerse," and I'm like, I don't get why. There's only been 4 movies thus far in 10 years, and along with 2 shows. So it's like it's not a yearly thing like the MCU. So it's like, how could you be burnt out on the MonsterVerse when it's still basically a baby?
Exactly. But
What I chalk it up to is the fact that we have so much Godzilla content in general coming out lately that it's overwhelming to some lesser minds out there, and they need a finger to point the blame at. And it's like, it's the MonsterVerse's fault. It's American. It's not Toho made, so it's automatically the problem. Blech.
And those people are losers. But
Yes.
in terms of the special effects it doesn't look like a movie, but here's the thing. It comes impressively close for a TV show. And a part of that is, 1, the budget is very close to what a movie has. 2, it's kept in moderation, so they don't have to work on it as much. And the thing is, how close to, like, for example, for how the close the lighting to the drips of the rain falling down on Godzilla's body resembles to the movies, I'm majorly impressed. Obviously, the fact it's a TV show, again, budgets are reaching levels of movies play a part in this. But again, they're still on a smaller deadline and still mind-blowing with how close they come. Like, again, when Godzilla is in that attack, you can see the rain falling down on everything. He looks like he's actually there. He blends in to the best of his degree.
Right on. On the main Godzilla Fest stream where they were showing the behind the scenes thing for Monarch, they also showed both trailers that were out at the time for it too. And when it came to this shot particular in the trailer, someone commented that Godzilla looks so bad here. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. I mean, sure, it's not as well done as the movies, but like you keep saying, it's still very impressive for especially since this is a television show that either doesn't have as big a budget as a movie or has a budget that they have to spread out across multiple episodes. So it's just like, y'all are being nitpicky as fuck, having people going on about Monarch in the comment section of that live stream. And I'm just like, the only thing making me moan right now is you cringy ass fans looking for a reason to dislike this show. Hell, One Piece person even said that they don't see a resemblance between Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell. I'm like, bro, that's literally his son. If you put a picture of Wyatt Russell against a young Kurt Russell, they look very similar. It's like people were looking for a reason to dislike this show.
They were, and a part of it is either the fact, 1, it's not Toho. 2, they don't like the fact that it's about the characters, which is the gayest fucking opinion I've ever heard, and I'll say it, those people are not fans, because if they were, they would know that Godzilla has always had a major focus on the cast.
Yeah, the only time I ever thought the special effects were a bit wonky was when Godzilla came out of the ocean for the Castle Bravo thing. When there's that long shot with Bill Rando's camera of Godzilla standing up and roaring, he does look a little weird. He looks shorter than he should be. His arms look stubbier. He doesn't look as big as he should. But that for various reasons, one of which will tie into a critique I have for not just Monarch, but the MonsterVerse as a whole that I'll get into later. But even then, it still served its purpose adequately, I'd say.
Yeah, and I also have to say, they really captured the older look in the flashbacks, both from the hairdos, the way everyone's dressed. It's all very aesthetic, for lack of better terms, and keeps us in check with what's happening when. I don't see how anybody can be confused.
Right on. one thing that was presented in the first episode that I wish they had saved for later on was they showed Kate's death when they found that one Muto nest. I wish that they had saved that for later on in the show. But even then, it was still well executed for what they were trying to do. Like, everything in the show so far has been so well done, from the cinematography, the editing, all the acting has been good for me, and the writing, for the most part, has been really good. The only part where it's faltered is while it's trying to build upon the world of the MonsterVerse, in doing so, it sort of contradicts what established continuity in the MonsterVerse, which has been a problem, like almost from the very beginning. When it comes to when it comes to continuity in the MonsterVerse, it's like the MonsterVerse beats continuity over the head with a hammer until it's dead, basically.
Yeah, and for speaking of that Castle Bravo situation, which I gotta say, overall, while there was some retcons in it, apparently, overall, it was still very nice world building to actually show us when that event took place. And, like, seeing how Kiko got so emotional by seeing Godzilla get hit with the nuke, these are some juicy details, especially the empathy revolving around it and how emotional Kiko gets, kind of drawing back to the feel of the 54 film and how sympathetic Godzilla is.
For sure. And I also want to point out just one more thing, since I forgot to say. People are talking about how Kate and Kintaro, and even May to an extent, have been unlikable and cringe. I'm like, you're still way better than fucking Little Orphan Annie was in the Skull Island anime. I do not like that character.
Annie was fine, but it's like they are way better than Annie. And it's overall, the cast of characters here are like here's why it bothers me when people are bitching about Kentaro and Kate. Because here's the thing, these so far, critically speaking, unless someone tells me otherwise and explains their stance, some of the best written and acted characters in the MonsterVerse. And, like, for example, we're seeing episodes of them slowly bonding with each other. Like, on episode 3, I think it was, we saw Kate crying on Kentaro, which was a very nice detail. And it just goes to show, while their relationship isn't exactly polished yet, throughout the episodes, they are getting closer and closer. Sorry if you don't have the patience to actually sit through character development and want the character traits to be automatically established on first introduction.
Yeah, and not only does Kate cry on Kintaro at some point, they actually embrace it finally as a symbolic way of finally accepting each other and be like, okay, we're brother and sister now. We have a responsibility as a family. We got things we gotta do, so let's do them together. And it's just like, it does get to that point. You just have to be patient enough to watch the natural progression of the story and the character development. It's not on the writers to give you what you want right away. It's up to you to be patient enough as the viewer to watch it, or turn it off and watch something else and quit being a little bitch about it.
Exactly. Also, I forgot to go into Kurt Russell. It's pretty expected that Kurt Russell would do an amazing job, but I'm still going to explain why he does great anyway. And that's because he does such a fantastic job at showing how much he's been through whenever he's on screen. It's that no bullshit attitude I'm absolutely loving and wanting to see more of. And it brings in some good comedic situations too, like, I fucking died when he was saying, I got my sister's adopted grandkids with us, because he knew he couldn't say they were related to him since one was black and the other two were Japanese. It's this type of nuanced humor the MonsterVerse has just been so lacking. The MonsterVerse and definitely the MCU. Oh my fucking god.
Right on. And then another thing that makes it work is just the fact that Kurt Russell is just such a charismatic and charming actor as is. He could probably make just about anything work, which is why I got such a problem with actors who don't like put the best that they can into it, like apparently Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't for 2014, because it's not just up to the writing for to make the characters work. I'm going to tell people that it's also the actors portraying them. If you're really a good actor or you're a professional actor, you should be able to get the best out of the performance. Like, some people felt that Dr. Serizawa wasn't the best presented character in the first movie in terms of writing, but will have argued that Ken Watanabe's performance about it helped save the character, make him one of the more interesting. I thought Serizawa was presented well all around myself, but I'm just saying, if you're a good enough actor, you should be able to make a performance work, even if it is mid-writing.
Exactly, like, it's on both the writer and actor to bring a character to life. That's like with the whole Shin Japan Heroes universe, you had Hideki Akasaka's actor, I forgot his name, I literally said it in my dub video. We don't have Anno's exact word on if it's the same character, other than he's hinted at it very much. I'm pretty sure that was Anno's intention, and Akasaka's actor would agree. Akasaka said when he was portraying the role in the entire Shin Japan Heroes universe, he wanted to keep consistent with how he would give off his emotions, how he would do his facial expressions, how he would act and stuff like that, to have it feel like it is the same character, because that's what he believed Anno was going for with the cues Anno been dropping.
Right on. See, it's when you can depend on an actor like that. Well, you should be able to depend on an actor like that, and when you can, then you can still get a great product, whether the writing was just okay to begin with. Oh, I also wanted to acknowledge something that Tokupunk said. He said all Skull Island characters are mid as fuck. I assume you're talking about the anime series when you say that, Tokupunk. Yeah, I agree, but Annie was the worst in my opinion, mostly because, well, she was this very abrasive, unlikable person from the very beginning, and she went through little to no character progression, unlike what we're seeing with Kate and Kintaro and Mei to an extent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just that I saw Tokupunk said that. I'm just like, I feel that needs to be acknowledged.
Oh, I agree. I'm also kind of wondering if episode 3 will lead off to a monster fight in episode 4. I won't count on it since the show is very character focused, but considering we had a fight in episode 1, I wouldn't be shocked to see another small scale battle happen. I do know that, again, the show is trying to keep the special effects in moderation to look as close as a Hollywood blockbuster film as possible, but they gotta escape that monster somehow, and I expect this to be the case, but we'll see.
Some people have presented the theory that the 4th episode will actually open with them not fighting the monster, but them having just escaped it and it walking away to save on budget. What do you think about that?
I think it's possible. Again, like, the show is trying to keep it in moderation, to keep it looking as close to a blockbuster as possible, but there is some fights here. Like, the first episode opens with 2 Skull Island kaiju battling it out so John Goodman could escape.
Yeah, I gotta say, even though I thought the CGI in that for the monsters, for the most part, was done very well, for some reason it looked like they put CGI on John Goodman for whatever reason, and it was noticeable in a not too good way, I gotta be honest. I'm just like, how do these look so good while John Goodman looks so bad because you put CGI on him?
I actually didn't notice that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I didn't notice it on first viewing. But on rewatch for bigger analysis for a full-on review, I'll inevitably do down the road. There's a chance I will notice what you're talking about, just since I was watching it for the first time and overall very excited, especially since I turned on the first 2 episodes after rewatching Godzilla 98.
Ow.
And especially since it also looks like an upgrade from 98 CGI anyway.
Oh, most definitely. I actually had to have someone point that out to me on a rewatch. I'm like, oh yeah. All I can guess is that maybe they superimposed John Goodman's face on a stunt actor only because John Goodman's so old he probably can't move like what was required for that scene.
Exactly, which is understandable. Also, for speaking of John Goodman, though, while he's old, gotta respect him for losing a lot of weight in his older age.
Yeah, well, I know that he had to because they actually told him if he did not lose a sufficient amount of weight in his old age, he would die.
Makes sense.
starting to get dark there. And I'm proud of John Goodman on a personal level that he was able to get himself to a healthier place where hopefully he can stay around for a lot longer, because I like John Goodman. I'm a fan of his, and I was really happy that they brought him back to portray Skull Island Bill Randa again.
Oh yeah, I love John Goodman. Always been a fan of him, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. But
yeah.
anyway,
and I want to point out that although I might have some critiques about the special effects, any here and there, overall the effects are still above decent. I just felt that those little nitpicks there should at least be acknowledged to an extent. But the writing so far and the execution of everything else so far has been able to rise above any shortcomings that the show might have, at least for me so far.
I think the special effects are fantastic for a TV show and come very close to what a movie could deliver, which even though they were able to do that with a borderline Hollywood budget and keeping the monsters in moderation as possible, it's still impressive they do come as close as they do. And yes, the story and characters are absolutely amazing. It is overall so far what 2014 should have been. It has that serious character-driven tone of 2014, but you know what it doesn't do? Doesn't cock tease monster action. It doesn't introduce you to this one really cool character that started off interesting and then bait and switches to his boring son who apparently couldn't act because he didn't care about the movie. And overall, and also there's humor that comes in to make the overall thing just feel more dynamic. So as a whole, amazing show. I'm really looking forward to episode 4.
Right on. I'm really excited for it too. Something I gotta say. Here's something I have to say. I'm gonna get into deeper detail now. The continuity of the show in trying to build upon the world is staggeringly bad, in my opinion. I gotta say, a lot of people have brought it up, so I feel it needs to be acknowledged, and I agree. Like, they talked about how Monarch was one thing, but in this show they say it's another in that time. And I just don't feel like Bill Randa should have been in the Castle Bravo thing, and I don't think that he should be the connecting point for the main story as it is. Like, I don't think Kate should be Kate Randa, and I don't think Gintaro should be Gintaro Randa. I think in his place in the story, it should be a young either Dr. Serizawa or his father who's formed as in Randa's place, because I feel it would match better with the established continuity. Because if you stop about it, if you go into the deep dive, you'll realize that the dots really don't connect together the way that they're supposed to. And also the fact that Lisha was Lisha who was in the past then, and Lisha in the future now, because he would be 90, which they acknowledge he is, even though he doesn't look 90. He looks 70. Kurt Russell looks good for his age, by the way. It's just again, the Monsterverse just takes continuity and beats it all over the head. So, like, basically, continuity in the Monsterverse is dead. In order to enjoy these things, you basically have to take them as face value at their own individual things that uses the other established entries as guidelines, but more so than something to actually follow. Legendary claims that they have a lore and continuity people on these things, but then I see them doing these obvious continuity errors, and I'm just like, bullshit.
Yeah, like when talking about stuff like continuity, the Monsterverse has honestly not been very good at that. But as a whole, I still really appreciate the world building that's going on in the show.
Like I said, on it as its own, it's still a good thing, so long as you don't think too hard about the continuity, but just keep it in the back of your head. It's like, okay, they said the thing here and they're doing the thing here. Don't think about it too hard, because if you do, you're just like, wait a minute, This isn't how that other thing said it turned out. But
yeah, which is fine. I'm okay with some retcons. Like, for example, the Kyoto saga. Godzilla's bones were fucking disintegrated in the 54 film, but in the Kyoto saga, they retconned that and have it where Godzilla just turned the bones, or else they wouldn't have been able to use Godzilla's bones as what's the word? The basis for Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, and here's another thing, because I know that a lot of Toho humpers are gonna use the lack of good continuity as a slam against the MonsterVerse. I'm just like, y'all are some Showa Toho humpers. Look at the continuity in those Toho movies, those Showa movies, and then you come back to me. Because here's a prime example. In 54, he walks through electrical wires with no problem. In 62, in King Kong versus Godzilla, in 62, all of a sudden he's weak to electricity. And they expand upon that in Mothra versus Godzilla, which would be good, which is good continuity between those entries if you ignore the fact that electricity wasn't a big problem for Godzilla in 54. And then come the sea monster, it wakes him up and he's actually able to grow strong from it, despite then also getting shocked by it later on in the sea monster movie. And then we get to 74, and lightning is able to turn Godzilla into a fucking living magnet. What kind of continuity is that?
That is true. Though, in defense of King Kong vs. Godzilla and 54, those were two different Godzillas in defense of that.
Yeah, I know, but they're still the same species.
That is true.
But I'm not trying to say that the lack of good continuity makes those bad. They don't. I love the Showa era. I love the Heisei era. I love the Millennium era. I love the MonsterVerse. I'm not big on the anime trilogy. I liked Shin Godzilla fine, and I liked Singular Point fine. Even though continuity is not a big problem to me, but I can see why it'd be a big problem to other people, lack of good continuity. And I can also see why people would be frustrated, because these holes in the continuity are just so small. It could easily be fixed with a little modifying, and you can tell to where you can still tell the story that you want to tell, without there being a big gap in continuity. It's like, why can't you all just build upon each other in an organic, natural way? Like, you don't want to do those guys' ideas? You want to do your own ideas? Legendary. If you're not going to hire people who want to make a cohesive whole while still telling good stories, then you should hire me. Give me the MonsterVerse. I would love to expand upon people's ideas. And when Gar doesn't want to do anything with Michael Dougherty's characters, I'll do something with Michael Dougherty's characters. You don't want the guy who made the Skull Island anime doesn't want to make it fit with the continuity. Give it to me. I'll make it fit with the continuity. There's just like, there are people who would be willing to do these things that have the talent for it if you came down harder with the continuity.
Exactly.
But I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a rant.
No,
I swear the continuity doesn't bother me a whole lot. I'm just sort of being the voice of the people that it does bother. I acknowledge you. It's a valid critique, but I can't bring myself to leg in my way personally, only because what we've got from the MonsterVerse's individual entries has been so entertaining. Should Bill Randa have been there for the Castle Bravo experiment? Absolutely not. Should he have ran into more monsters besides what happened in the Lawton? Probably not, because of how he was portrayed in Skull Island. In Skull Island, it's the first time since the Lawton that he's seen those giant monsters. But now, according to Monarch, it's not, so it's a conflicting thing. So, yes, that deserved to be acknowledged.
Yeah, it did.
So, but again, and I cannot stress this enough, this is the last time I'm gonna say it. Even though the continuity eras are a valid critique, it's not enough for me to not be able to enjoy what we have been getting. We've gotten great portrayal of monster characters. We've had good cinematography and special effects for the most part. And even though some of these ideas don't fit well together, and some can even be seen as bad, like some people think of the aircraft carrier seen in Godzilla vs. Kong as being too much, the actual execution of the ideas, in my opinion, have still been well done, whether they were bad ideas or not, for the most part. I'd say the MonsterVerse, in terms of its execution of ideas, despite not fitting together on a scale of 1 to 10, has been an 8 for me, I'd say.
Yeah. Overall, I don't really feel like giving a rating of the show yet, but overall, all I can say is it's very good. It's a great show, and it has major potential, and I'm looking forward to what next week will offer, because it's had a, like, I have nothing against the retcons, because at the same time, like, I understand why some people consider retcons a flaw. Me personally, the way I see retcons is a person wanted to do a prequel or a sequel to something, but they also had their own vision they wanted to add to it. Now some people obviously see that as a flaw. I personally don't agree, because like I said, it also falls into the vein of artistic vision, but I also could see why someone would be like, oh, but this is connected to another art piece. But still, I don't think it's valid to let that ruin the show for you, when overall it has a great cast of characters, some amazing special effects, and some top-tier world building the MonsterVerse desperately needed.
Yeah, and even though there are bigger continuity flaws, there are smaller ones that could easily be explained away, whether you see them as copium or not. Here's one, like the Godzilla bridge attack as presented in Monarch doesn't fully line up with the movie, but you could make the argument that it's just how Kate remembers the bridge attack.
Exactly. But of course, when it comes to that, I feel like if that is the case, like if that was the intention of the writers, that'll probably be addressed down the line, but we'll see.
We'll see. If not, you still have those little straws you can hang on to for your copium / headcanons if it's not fully expanded upon
Exactly
in the show. Yeah.
But do we have anything more to say about Monarch?
I feel like we should, but at the same time, like, we didn't even talk about the actual people in Monarch, like Tim or his French girl sidekick, and then their mean boss. But at the same time, like, this thing has been going for more than 2 hours now, so maybe we should just be done with the Monarch part here.
Yeah, like we could probably go
and talk more.
Finish.
You were about to say what I was about to say.
Yeah, talk more about them in later episodes, right?
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say, but in my own weird Cody way.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, if that was it for this episode, unless Cody.
Hold on.
Okay.
One more thing. People, we're 4 days away from having Godzilla Minus War in American theaters. And we just got an announcement recently that a trailer for GXK: The New Empire is going to be premiering either the day after or on the 3rd of December. After the November, Godzilla Minus One comes to the theaters on the 29th. We might get the New Empire trailer on the 30th, if not December 30th. If so, I feel like they should just play the trailer of the New Empire before American showings of Godzilla Minus One anyways, so that Godzilla fans who enjoy both sides of the spectrum can be like, wow, that's cool. Because it is cool. As someone who enjoys both the serious stuff and the goofy stuff, this really is a second golden age of Godzilla for me. And I wish more people were more appreciative of that. I'm not burnt out on any of this stuff yet. I'm not burnt out on the MonsterVerse. I don't resent the MonsterVerse, despite some legitimate critiques you could make against it, and I don't resent Toku Toho trying to do their own thing and experimenting with Godzilla up to this point. It's been a great time, and I've been able to enjoy it. The fact that we have all these different Godzilla things going on so close together, it is without a doubt the second golden age, and I wish more people could appreciate it.
I agree completely.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, that was it for this episode. Please comment your thoughts down below. And if you enjoyed it, smash that like button as hard as I would smash Anna Sawai.
Me too.
Yeah. Share it around and subscribe. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
Stay awesome, Gojira people.